in Tanjung PAI, Malaysia a world-class port. And on the international front, the ongoing protests in Chile. And as holiday season comes around, single-digit temperatures arrive earlier than usual in the civilized world. Also, Mike will be coming in shortly to walk us through the latest in Tanjung PAI and some takeaways from 11/11 in our deep dive. But first, these are stories still running within the headlines and social media. In our first story, petrol and petroleum products can be cheaper if they are sold at below government stipulated prices. According to Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail, it can be done by being more competitive, innovative and efficient. Currently, the 6 petroleum companies in Malaysia are selling petrol based on the automatic pricing mechanism at RM2.08 per litre for RON 95. Saifuddin said the government will provide support that includes benefits for petroleum companies, which reduce their prices. Next, the early voting for the Tanjung PAI parliamentary by-election was completed yesterday with almost 100% turnout of the 280 early voters. According to the Election Commission EC, early voters for the by-election comprised 210 police officers and personnel in Kukup, 18 in Pekan Nanas, 38 serving outside the constituency and 14 others who have retired from the service. All the boxes containing the ballot would be kept at the Ponton police station lockup before being taken to the vote tallying centre at the Dewan Jubilee Intan Tonton Ibrahim for counting after polls on November 16th. In the meantime, this is what the Ponton District Police Chief Superintendent Mustafa Bakri Saleh has to say in the lead-up to the November 16th by-election. Supporters of political parties and candidates in the Tanjung PAI parliamentary by-election must avoid creating any provocation in the run-up to Saturday. As campaigning intensifies, things may get out of hand, which could lead to tensions amongst the contesting parties. Mustafa went on to say that apart from a few isolated incidents, the campaigning has been smooth sailing so far. Next, the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, CAAM, is confident of regaining its Category 1 aviation regulator status within the next 12 to 24 months after undertaking serious changes to its structure and operations. This was in response to the US Federation Aviation Administration, or FAA, downgrading of Malaysia's air safety rating to Category 2 due to its shortcomings as an aviation regulator. The downgrade restricts Malaysia's airlines from adding flights to the United States, which means AirAsia Access' only flight to the US is to Honolulu via Osaka. Moving on, the Magistrates Court in Georgetown imposed a jail term of 3 years and a fine of 7,000 ringgit on a former special officer to a DAP state assemblyman after he was found guilty of outraging the modesty of a 21-year-old woman 2 years ago. Prem Anand was charged with using criminal force aimed to outrage the modesty of the woman at the car park of an entertainment centre at Lebuh Pantai on July 6, 2 years ago. The accused, who was a special officer to Paya Trubung assemblyman, this is acts of this nature when charged carries a jail term of up to 10 years or a fine or caning or any of the 2 sentences if found guilty. We move on with an insight from the Deputy Women, Family and Community Development Minister, Hannah Yeoh. Women make up a majority of the victims of the Macau and African scams in the country. She said the syndicate will usually contact the victims to inform them on things that will create fear, such as claims that they are involved in crime, have outstanding debts or summonses. Hannah suggests that if one receives such a call, it is advisable for them to refer to the relevant agencies to verify the validity of such claims and not to simply believe them. Next, PKR President Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has dismissed allegations that Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad interfered in the court case of former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak. He said the allegation was unfounded. as the country's legal process is now conducted in a transparent and an independent manner and should be respected. Anwar then said allegations of this nature shouldn't be entertained unless it is supported by facts or evidence.
Jadi proses undang-undang itu masih berterusan. So I don't think we should entertain some allegations unless they can give some.
A man claiming to be a part-time stringer pleaded guilty in the Sessions Court to a charge of causing grievous hurt to a female CEO last Friday. Muhammad Zarith Muhammad Hanipa, aged 34, made the plea after the charge was read to him before Judge M. Edwin Paramjoti. The court set November 18th for sentencing. Muhammad Zarith was charged with voluntarily causing grievous hurt to Asian Strategy and Leadership Institute CEO Melissa Ong, aged 47, at a hotel a little past midday on November 8. Next, we will be taking a short breather. When we come back, we have more stories to share with you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Bernama TV's Midday Update. You're still with me, Elaine Notbla, and in the studio I'll be speaking to our guests. We have, of course, Mike, our in-house business analyst, and we'll be taking a deep dive in this segment to talk about the upcoming Tanjung PAI by-election happening this Saturday, November 16th. We are expecting, of course, Dr. M to give a mega trauma. Hello, Mike. Welcome back in the studio.
Yes, Elaine. How are you today?
I'm good. 11/11 just happened.
Yeah.
Did you go shopping? Was there a new jacket that you purchased during the 11/11 Singles Day?
No, I'm from the old school. I just like the brick and mortar kind of shopping. I like to feel the things I'm going to buy,
Right.
when I go to online.
So you're a retail kind of guy.
I'm a retail old kind of,
Okay, so retail has hope while it's still around.
Yeah.
But let's now talk about the Tanjung PAI by-election. That's just around the corner, November 16th, Saturday. The campaigning is ongoing at this point of time. We heard some of the updates with regards to the Tanjung PAI by-election. We hear that Tun M is going to give a mega ceramah. This is apparently to give a clear message that the Pakatan Harapan coalition is indeed united. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, he has a lot of things to say there and convince the people. He'll be there at 5:30. The ceramah starts about 8:30 and he'll be speaking maybe around 10 o'clock.
What day is this?
It's today.
Right.
But I think he has a lot of things to answer too, because there's a lot of unhappiness being told by the voters at Tanjung PAI, because they actually voted for the ruling government on May the 9th, and according to our Bernama reporters on the ground, they've talked to the voters and they have come back with a whole lot of basket of complaints against the government, and among them is that they are actually quite fed up with the country's political scenario,
There's this back and forth thing. There's this idea that the coalition seems to be in disarray, not united. There are a lot of issues that are pulling them apart. They're not presenting a united front. So how are they going to be able to weather this sort of perception that the voters have?
Yeah, that will be the main task of to Dr. Mahathir tonight, knowing how he is going to allay the fact that the Perak Menteri Besar actually sort of slighted the DAP and then no action was taken them against him and all that. So he has to convince the people that they are united. They might have divergent views, but then it will take some time. But whether or not the people will be convinced, I'm not so sure, because I think there's sort of voter fatigue, But then you must understand that the voters now, militians, are very politically very conscious. They know what's going on.
I have this question. Having this sort of like banter between the coalition itself, is this a sign of trouble, or it's a healthy sign because of there's conversation versus having one dominant party that tells you what you're supposed to do?
I think it's good because it shows democracy is alive. I think those who are happy will be the opposition, but those who are in the government, they won't be too happy about it, because some of the things that the Bernama team were able to derive from the voters was that they are fed up with the same negative tactics to fish for voters,
Yes.
sweet promises. Well, they made sweet promises before
past?
May the 9th. Where were the sweet promises? They were not delivered. And major sweet promises that they were delivered was the high cost of living.
That's right.
The government has not met that. And most of the people there are fishermen, and then farmers, they are palm oil cultivators, they are being exploited by middlemen when they sell the fresh fruit bunches from the farm, from the oil palm plantations. They get very low prices because of exploitation by the middlemen.
Right.
So these are the things that the government needs to look at, or should have already looked at since May the 9th.
That's
they
right.
haven't, you see.
So is there anything that they can do to sort of create, well, it's not a perception, to create real change? This is what we're looking for, real change. We don't want to talk about talk. We don't want to talk about, hearsay.
Yeah.
There is maturity that is expected to be able to deliver.
Yeah, because one of the things that the voters say that they don't want candidates smearing the name of the other candidate. They don't want that kind of old kind of political.
That's right. So that's what we're looking forward
yes,
to.
Actually.
A healthy, mature way of campaigning.
Explain the policies.
None of this, throwing blame, talking bad, about the other party or the other person without policies in place.
Yeah, tell me, how are you going to lower the cost of living?
Yes.
Real
solutions.
And the Prime Minister YB Teresa Kok went there and gave about 10 MSPO certificates to about 10 smallholders.
Yes.
So everybody, the opposition is saying that it's a bribe and all that.
Yes,
and she said it's
that's
just coincidental. But then more needs to be done. I think it's not the certificates alone. It's the prices of the commodity. Hope they get better commodity prices and doing away with the middlemen. Also, so to the fishermen.
We're looking forward to not just one-offs, promises that hopefully buy your sort of acquiescence
Buying
at this
the
point
votes.
of time.
Yeah.
What we're saying, buy your acquiescence in the sense that we are not expecting long-term change. They want long-term change. They want short-term promises that go away after.
That's why they voted for the government, you see.
That's right.
So that is it. But then again, previously they said by-elections were not important and all that.
Yes.
But now I think every by-election is important. Every election is important because I think it is a message that the voters will send to the government, and you can see the turnout. The turnout at the Chalamas.
Exactly.
Remember, everything has been reversed.
Yes.
Remember, the opposition of full house.
Yes.
Now the government, the opposition was in the government now. They all just, no one is turning up.
So
for the
I have this
Chalamas.
question. Is this a Malaysian mentality that you're always not happy with what you have? I'm just asking this.
No, but when you go to opposition charama, you get juicy things because they criticize the government.
Yes.
So it's more interesting to go to the opposition charama. But when you go to the government one, you're going to explain the policies which are already read in the papers and all that,
Right.
shared prosperity vision and things like that.
Right.
It's good to go to the other side and listen to the juicy bites. But
So there needs to be maturity both sides.
Yeah.
Also for the voters to
Yeah.
want to understand more of the policies, not just about gossip.
yeah, but you see, over the past 1 year, there's been some serious issues that have cropped up. The cost of living is one I mentioned, and the apparent disunity among the coalition partners,
Yeah.
the apparent polemics over the transition. We want to have certainty as to the leadership
Yeah.
by the next election,
Yeah.
you see, and also sometimes the criticism against the alleged unilateral moves by the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So many of the ministers within the coalition
Yeah.
are sort of criticizing each other.
Right.
They have not got their act together again, act together as a united force. You see. So these are things being exploited by the opposition, they were the ruling government before. So, but as you can see, the attendance at the MCA Charama was very well attended. I think for the first time, the MCA is so happy they're getting a full turnout,
That's
because remember,
right.
they were chastised by the people in the previous election.
Yes.
They were all wiped out. Is it? Remember that?
Yes.
So it could be a game changer, Tanjung PAI.
So this will be sort of like a health check for us to be able to see by the November 16, the polling day. We'll see the turnout as well as we'll see what the results will show. We have a six-way party,
Yeah,
a six-candidate
But then I think
election.
it's mainly between the Pakatan Harapan
As
and
well as the
Barisan
Barisan
and all that
National
kind of thing.
Coalition.
But
There you go.
Dr. Mahathir's presence there tonight might sway things to the government side.
We'll see what happens on November 16th. So if you are voting in the November 16th by-election at Tanjung PAI, please make sure that you're there on time, and every vote counts at this point in time. But let's quickly talk about Singles Day. 11/11 was just a couple of days ago. It was a massive sale. People were out in full force. They say that the economy is down, but everybody is purchasing. There's the biggest sale ever. We're talking about 11/11. What were the numbers? Do you have some,
like Alibaba talked about $38 billion, which is way beyond what was recorded in the last, and even for Malaysia, there were 20 billion. But the numbers do say a lot of things. Consumption expenditure is really doing very well, but it's not necessarily development expenditure, and it gives. It doesn't lend into the fact that people asking questions, are people having hard times, they're actually shopping. But more than that, it also goes to the way, the way of life. People are really don't have time to shop anymore. They do online, they get deals and things like that. I think weekends, people like to spend with their families. And in Malaysia, one of the things that you notice in our departmental stores and shopping complexes is that there are many vacant spaces right now. One of the things is not everybody, girls are buying things online. They're the biggest buyers, and most of the things.
Female, we like to shop, and I'll say this: even though the economy is down, I think this is the smarter way to shop, because that's where you get bargains and you can compare deals physically. You don't visually. You don't have to be physically on site. So this is sort of like a reflection that people want to save money, and this is the easiest way because there are massive discounts. Let's talk about scams. This will be an opportunity for scammers to be, raking it in.
The scammers are always been there, but during such a global sale, a frenzy buying the first hour, they will take advantage. So when you are going online, check which website are you going for. Use the creditable websites which are accredited to the merchants, accredited to the bankers, and you've used them before. Don't fall for basement garage prices and all that.
It's always not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. They cannot be too good to be true.
When it's too good to be true, it really is too good to be true. Thank you so much, Mike, for the deep dive segment. Tanjung PAI by-election as well as 11/11 sale. We will take a short breather right now. When we come back, we have more stories to share with you. Stay tuned. Hello, thanks for staying with us here on Bernama TV. You're still watching us on the Midday Update. I'm Milena Abdullah. We'll take you to some international stories. Protests against social inequality in Chile continued for a 26th day with huge demonstrations across the country and a national strike that brought much of the country to a standstill on Tuesday. After an earlier peaceful march in the capital, groups of hooded protesters also confronted police who used water cannons and tear gas to disperse them. The strike drew widespread participation across the country, generating a holiday atmosphere in many cities. Chile is one of the wealthiest countries in Latin America, but it is also one of the most unequal, with a swath of basic services privatized. How did it all begin? Apparently, a student protest over rising subway fares in mid-October has grown into a broad movement demanding reforms to education, healthcare, and pensions. The bigger question is, what is it that brought about an uptrend in the growing number of protests globally this year? From there, we move to R&B crooner John Legend, him being voted as the sexiest man alive by People magazine. The Grammy-winning singer, known for his silky smooth vocals, was revealed as this year's winner on NBC's The Voice. He serves as a coach on the singing competition series with Gwen Stefani, Kelly Clarkson, as well as Blake Shelton. People magazine issued two different covers of Legend, one of him wet and one dry. They say this is the first time two covers were issued for its sexiest man alive. The 40-year-old legend is a 10-time Grammy winner. He took home an Oscar in 2015 for co-writing the song Glory from the film Selma. Luka Modric, Patrick Vieira, Jose Altafini, Roberto Falcao and Carolina Morace have been awarded the 2019 Golden Foot in a ceremony in Monaco on Tuesday. In its 17th year, the Golden Foot Award is given out to best performing players over the age of 29. Past winners of the Golden Foot include Edinson Cavani, Iker Casillas, Gianluigi Buffon, Samuel Eto'o, Andres Iniesta, Didier Drogba, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Ryan Giggs, Francesco Totti, as well as Ronaldinho. Now on the weather front, snow and cold records fell from the plains to the Great Lakes and beyond as an Arctic air mass that started in Siberia spilled over a big chunk of the eastern half of the U.S., including the normally mild south on Tuesday. According to the U.S. National Weather Services, the low temperature on Tuesday morning in Madison, Wisconsin was 5 degrees, breaking the previous record of 7 degrees set in 1986. And Milwaukee tied the record at 9 degrees. Well, in a nutshell, the mid-autumn taste of winter brought record single-digit temperatures to Chicago, set snowfall records in Buffalo and Detroit, dusted cars with snow in Memphis, Tennessee, and froze lakes in Minnesota weeks earlier than usual. You'll probably forget this within the next 30 seconds, but climate change is real, and our generation is watching it unfold. The question is, though, how will we get out of this? Is there any commitment to address the visible effects that is experienced globally? This has been Bernama TV's Midday Update. I'm Elena Blas. Stay with us for more updates and news bulletins right here on Bernama TV. My colleague Jessica Chahal joins us shortly for Bernama Today. Bye for now.